Everything silent.
And so we are joined from Atlanta, Georgia, by the newly published author, Venus Marilyn Ross, author of Love You. We thank you so much for joining us. Graduate 2000, class of 2000 of Madison Central, with me at Madison Central High School, graduate of the University of Southern Mississippi. Now a huge part in the banking industry there in Atlanta. I've got a room full here with me at Belma Jackson High School. We're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County schools, Madison Central, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So thank you for fitting us in your schedule, and thank you for being flexible. We had a last minute schedule change today.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me. Hello, everyone.
Awesome. Now, obviously, it's really cool because, and when I tell you in a minute the stuff that they have access to that we didn't as Madison County Schools alums, your jaw's going to drop. But, I think it's so cool. I used to ride the same bus as you. We had the algebra class that nobody could pass. The Madison Central class of 2000. So you are a Madison County Schools alum here, a huge part of the community. So just talk about your high school experience and how that kind of led you to go to Southern Miss, because I hear every day kids changing their minds about what they want to do. And before you start that, just let me tell you this. Now, all of our Madison County School students, when they're in 11th grade and when they're in 12th grade, get a free ACT during school. Where was that when we needed it? So they love to think that we had everything, but I promise you we did not. So just take us through your high school experience, because you were involved in a lot of stuff, great student, and then went on to Southern Miss, and we'll definitely rep your AKA. You had a great college experience as well. So, just talk about how that high school experience shaped your decision to go to USM.
Absolutely, certainly. So in high school, I want to say from high school all the way until graduating college, I wanted to go to law school. And you'll see I took a detour from that original decision, but I wanted to go to law school and I love fashion. I didn't know how to merge the two of those things together. I was like, what am I going to do with a fashion degree if I stay in Mississippi or even the South? What am I going to do at that time? I'm thinking, okay, you have to move to New York, you have to move to Paris, Milan. So funny enough, I took 3 years of French because I'm like, hey, maybe I will make my way to Paris at some point. So I think Miss Carmody was at Madison Central until recently. She's
Yeah, she
she
was
was
the
there
last. That
full
is
time.
actually a fun fact. She was the last teacher from our high school years to retire. Just retired three
Madam
years ago.
Carmody.
Yeah.
Yes, I was president of some of everything. So, SAD, Students Against Drunk Driving. I was in FHA. It was Future Homemakers of America, and then they changed the name to FCCLA. I think it was Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America. I could have some of those words wrong, but it's you know how we're thinking at that time. I joined the organization because I heard we got to miss a few days of school. I'm not gonna act like I was so motivated at that time, but I'm like, hey, let's do it. I love the involvement though. I feel like having such a busy schedule in high school helped me learn how to manage a number of activities and, learn and the schedule of studying and tests and balancing so many different skills is something that you need to master so that once you get into adulthood, it becomes easy because that part never gets lighter, especially when you get a family and kids and throw
Yeah,
all of that
and
with
also
career.
something that I take pride in that we did as a class is we all pushed each other. Nobody was going to catch our valedictorian or salutatorian, but at the end of the day, we wanted everybody to succeed, and we always worked well together in that regard. And that's why I encourage everybody, bring people up that are around you. And I agree
Absolutely.
100%. And look, what you just said still goes on. People join stuff to miss school. They want to go on the trips, and that's fine. Especially if you're a good student, you've earned that. But what you learn from that is time management, and that's a big part of entrepreneurship as well, and something you've had to learn on your recent journey. But before we get to that, let's talk about Southern Miss, where you were a
Yes,
member of
yes.
AKA. You're a member of AKA. You were there with me as well, there with our friend, our art teacher here, Miss Davis, and you were
Yes.
a business administration major.
Yes, absolutely. So just transitioning into that, I had a very good friend of mine. She's class of 98 that went to Southern Miss, and she really didn't give me any options on that. And I knew going to law school, you could really come in with any major. And so I was kind of like, what if I don't go to law school? What else can I have? And so I majored in marketing. I minored in fashion merchandising because I still wasn't ready to let go of that. I said, I'm not going to make it a major, but I just kind of want it there in case that's something I want to do. And so, yes, I pledged AKA the first semester of my sophomore year. So I was Greek longer than I was not. That just added more layers of responsibility, philanthropy. We're doing events and community service and just whatever we can to give back to the community. So I was parliamentarian in the chapter. Shout out to the Iota Kappa chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. That's the Southern Miss chapter. I enjoyed college. I had a great time. I really did. I wouldn't change a thing. I somehow managed to get in and out in the 4 years, even with the major and minor. And so that took some summer school. That took a lot of 19-hour semesters. But one thing that I remember leaving Madison Central with that I took to USM and even into adulthood, I remember our senior year, you remember we had Mr. McGehee because Dr. Ken, I think, became superintendent at that time. And we had Mr. McGehee. And I remember him saying to our full class, if what you're doing today, everything that you're doing within your day is not getting you closer to graduation, you don't need to be doing it. And as simple as that sounds, it kind of kept me on track and thinking goal oriented and, having a plan,
Well, I'll try to
executing
make
to get
sure he
there.
gets a hold of this, and next time I see him, I will definitely remind him of that. That is a great quote, and even though he's retired, he still has such a huge hand in Madison County schools. I'm glad you said that. Now, you just said you got the business administration degree, but we all know you did not go to law school.
I did
So
not go to law school.
you got into the healthcare admin field. Now you're doing great things in the financial field. So
Yes.
just talk about that pivot, and then at the end of the day, all that led you to being on the path you're on now.
Absolutely. So I did work at a firm shortly after school, and I quickly realized I did not want to be a lawyer for the right reasons. I think I watched one too many episodes of Matlock and Alec McBeal and just imagine arguing in court and winning and getting a check. And I'm like, no, that is not exactly what it is at all. And so I pivoted my mindset, and I had a job opportunity in Atlanta. And that's what moved me to Atlanta, Georgia, because I was in Birmingham at that time. I actually left Mississippi in 2006. So 20 years. 20 years
Yeah.
ago. And so I've been in Atlanta 19 of those. And yeah, I moved here for a medical sales role. I did that for 18 years of the 19. And for about 9 to 10 months, I've actually been a business banker at Bank of America. So I am helping private business owners in the space of 1 to 20 million um,
Wow.
really support their business growth. And so, I mean, that in itself is motivating to jump
Oh, big
into
time.
entrepreneurship when what you do all day is talk to people about their own babies that they grew and they developed, and you see that level of success. So it's a
Oh, big
beautiful
time.
thing.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned something because I think it's so important, no matter what path somebody chooses after high school, is find ways to see the way the field you are interested in works. Because you did not waste money and time going to law school when you saw that, hey, this really isn't for me. Find people to get involved in, find somewhere to volunteer, find someone that you can shadow. And it is amazing how your eyes can be open. Now, you could have gone there and said, hey, I still really want to do this, and that would have been great. But it wound up being the best thing for you just to, get some work experience, but say, hey, this really isn't something that people think it is.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Now, and I'm glad you mentioned too, because that we're obviously we're going to get to the book, but you deal with small business owners every day on the
Yes.
financial side,
Mhm.
and that is something that young people seem to overlook because they see the TikToks, they hear the songs, and I always talk about the Jasmine Sullivan song because it makes me mad, even though I'm a huge fan, where she says, I'm going to move to Atlanta, open a business, and be rich. It doesn't work like that. There are so many things behind the scenes that entrepreneurs tend to forget, overlook, don't want to do. It's not the glamorous social media side of it. And the financial side of entrepreneurship might be more important than the side that everybody sees. So, as somebody in that financial space, what are some things that people need to really think about before they decide they're going to jump all into this entrepreneurship stuff?
Planning. There's lots of planning, but obviously you're going to need to pivot. So I think determination is a huge part of it. um, you could be successful at something for so long and just changes in the world, the market, the supply and demand, just so many things can change that makes something so profitable, not profitable at all. And so
There
I
you go.
see a lot of these businesses diversifying and knowing how to pivot and move with the changes. You can't sit there and sulk about it. You have to, I mean, I feel the difference between them and those that don't have the businesses is they took the action, they took the risk. Like a lot of people have a lot of great ideas, but if it stays there, it's not getting anywhere. And I saw a quote the other day that said there are 7 days of the week, and some day is not one of them. And so you
Wow.
can't have the mindset of someday I'm going to do this. Like you have to take action. And I think it's better to take action in silence. Get it done. I do a lot of reading, and I remember reading about how when you talk about doing things, you produce the same dopamine and serotonin that you do as if you've done them. So imagine talking about things, you're all excited about it. You get that high and it's great. You hadn't done a doggone thing.
Yeah.
But you're in that moment. So it even feels good to talk about it. But that's not going to get you to the next step. That's certainly not going to help you succeed in whatever you're trying to accomplish.
Awesome. And you know, and you mentioned a couple of things that you've done here because you mentioned you were in sales, now you're in finance, and that is such a big part of combining the entrepreneurial spirit. And I
Yes.
had somebody on the same platform a couple of years ago who also wrote a book, and she said it just blew her mind. People had spent years of their lives telling their stories, pouring their heart out into this, just writing the best book they could, and then when the book fair came, they're just sitting behind the table, not engaging with the people that are there. And she was like, you know, I understand you may be very talented as a writer, but no matter what business you get into, you've got to be able to sell. You've got to be able to sell yourself. You've got to be able to walk in a room and introduce yourself. You've got to be able to say, hey, my name's so and so. Here's my business. Here's what it costs. Here's what you get out of it. And these kids get, and I know I can speak for every teacher that's going to see this later and the ones I have here me now. These kids get so upset that I make them get up in front of this class and present and talk. But that is what separates a good business person from a great business person.
I agree. I agree. And you have to sell yourself. You're the product. Once you sell yourself, they're interested in buying whatever product you're representing. But the sale starts long before you open your mouth. So just the presentations, the confidence you carry with yourself. And everyone's new at something at some point, or may have weaknesses within something that they're doing and other strengths in other areas. You got to fake it till you make it. You can
Absolutely,
sell
because
that
the only person
confidence
that's going to
until
know you're
you really
faking,
develop it.
the only person that knows you're faking is you. You know, people see
Exactly.
confidence and people read it quickly. Now, obviously, you know, and we've kind of talked about it, but we haven't really dove into it. You recently wrote your first book, Love You, a guide to, and I got to get my copy, a guide to self-help,
You can see it. You can see it a little bit.
self-love.
Yes.
And you have been, you know, you know, you've been hitting the ground running. You've been appearing at events. You've been on social media. You know, you've had some interviews. But just talk about where the idea for this book came from to, you know, to get it published and be able to sell it and be able to tell your story. And, you know, I know it's deeply personal for you, which, you know, at the end of the day, the most successful entrepreneurs are. But, you know, your personal story could not have been told if you did not have that business mindset. So talk about how those came together and where this idea for this book was born.
Absolutely. I can't jump into that without talking about entrepreneurship. Itself. So my dad's an entrepreneur, and he's talked to me about business since I could even understand what words he was saying. I don't know what age that started, but he told me a long time ago, until you get some type of LLC or letters behind a business name, corporate America is going to determine how much you're worth. If you want to make whatever you want to make, you have to control that. in
Man.
some form of entrepreneurship. And so I got an LLC, let's see, 13 years ago. And I was doing a little marketing consulting with it, but nothing really. But I paid on it every single year because I knew once I did establish a business that I genuinely wanted to grow, then it would appear as if that business had been standing and in place for that many years based on the LLC. So I was intentional paying every single month to keep it current. But yes, the book is very personal to me. I've never considered myself an author. I am. I'm a self-published author now, but it was a story that I needed to share. In my personal life, I escaped an abusive marriage with a brand new baby. My daughter was 3 weeks old. And I was in a situation that I had been in for 3.5 years, and I didn't recognize what was going on until that little baby was born. With as a new mom, I had brand new eyes and ears in the world. And I quickly saw a situation that was not one that I was going to let my little girl grow up and observe as a household. Because what kids see in their environment is their norm, and whether they try to avoid it or not, it's hard not to repeat those mistakes that you see. And so my question to myself was, why did I not love myself enough to see what was happening? I lost all this weight, I had all this anxiety, I was on all these blood pressure medications, and physically nothing was wrong with me. It was the relationship. So that little girl, she gave me the courage to remove myself from that situation. A year after that, my mom died. And so all of these things happening helped me recognize tomorrow is not promised. And I'm like, I do not want my little girl to go through any of the things that I went through. I want to give her a head start so she can at least know the things that I did not know, and grow from there. And so the book was supposed to be for her. The book was supposed to be just for my daughter, something to leave behind that she could reference so that when she was ready for that information, this book is for the adult version of my daughter. My daughter is only 6 years old. And so this is me planning for the future. But just some things that were happening in life, an interview I saw where someone asked, "What are you doing for your community?" I'm thinking, dang, I'm not doing a doggone thing aside from like organized community service and trying to leave any place I've entered better than, when it was I got there. Not much. And so I just saw an opportunity in observing women and getting to know just so many people surrounding me that a lot of people could benefit from the lessons that I learned about self-love. It's not a feeling, it's not confidence. You can have all of those things and not operate in your highest self-worth. You can disguise it as being kind and she's so nice when you are actually self-sabotaging and people pleasing. And those are not good things. And though you think you're being nice to others and it helps you on the inside, it's essentially hurting you. And that's just a very small snippet of the type of things that I talk about in my book. So I'm like, hey, if it can be a blessing to my daughter, it can be a blessing to someone else's daughter. But I've heard that men have benefited from this book as well. That the message is a general one, and so
Oh,
there's
and
the
that's what I
book.
was going to say because even though, and I actually have all young men in here with me right now, but at
Okay.
the end of the day, that message
Yes.
can resonate with anybody. Because look, everybody knows I keep it a buck on here. You know, let's be real. I understand I'm an outsider's perspective, but the mental health issues in the black community and speaking about self-worth, being able to speak up about domestic violence situations, that has affected a lot of people,
Yes.
males and females. And someone like you, stepping up and saying, "Look, you're not alone. Here's what I dealt with. Here's how here's the way you can make your life better." I don't see how that can't benefit everybody.
I agree. I agree 100%. Remember, I'm a business major, so I knew that I needed a niche market that was going to just guide everything. And obviously, my experience is that of a woman, is that of a Black woman. And so I talk about my experience, but it is general information because I really just kind of talk about all the different things that cause us to be in a situation not operating in high self-worth. I mean, so many, I mean, things as far as like your relationship with your parents, your siblings, the order you were born. There's so many different layers. And so just being aware of that and understanding what your things are, I'm providing practical steps to help you improve that, and live more abundantly. So I
I
love
love
the
it.
message that is here. It was something I prayed on. I didn't want to write this book. I'm a private person. I'm gonna be honest. This is me. God's like, you're gonna write this book. And so people ask how long it took, and I'm like 6 years. But I was fighting God for four of them, 4.5. Well, I'm not doing this. And so, yeah, again. I had a plan. I sat down, I buckled in, I said, I'm going to do this. So most people did not know that I was writing a book, and it's like, boom, here it is.
Yeah, and I was actually talking to our friend Shira Shinya yesterday about today, and she was just like, "Yeah, I heard she read the book, and it kind of caught everybody off guard." So it was really cool, and it was so cool to see our classmate do it. But I do have some questions here, and I want to tell you, I didn't coach these at all. These are some great questions.
Okay.
This first one is Lacridric Harris. He's in 11th grade. He's got two questions, and he asked, "What do you think is your biggest accomplishment? You can't say your daughter, and you can't say the book."
Surviving my traumas and being who I am
Mhm.
today.
There you go. You know what?
For
I'm
sure.
glad you said that because it's not always about the material things. It's not always about the tangible rewards. Sometimes overcoming that obstacle that say they said I couldn't do this and I did it. There are so many great business people. I mean, the one that always comes to mind is Raising Cane's. I actually got to meet Todd Graves in grad school. So many people said Raising Cane's was a stupid idea. You're never going to make this work. Nobody would give him a loan. He had to raise the money on his own, and now he's got restaurants all over the world.
And
So
it's
I
yummy.
think stuff like that, you have a lot to be proud of. Now
Thank
his
you.
second question is how do you control your emotions when speaking about this, and how did you control your emotions going through the struggles you went through?
Oh, that's a great question. I actually did research before I started to really put all this information out there because I had test readers who read the book long before I actually published it, long before I took it to an editor. Um, Even then, handing over my life and some of the greatest challenges I ever dealt with were very hard. And so I wondered if every time I talk about this, is this going to am I going to carry that weight? Because I'm a bit of an empath too. So I really did worry about that. And the information that I read and really took in is that was the past version of me. And so if I speak of that version of Venus just as that, it has nothing to do with who I am today. So at that point in my life, even phrasing it when I speak of it in that way, I can get through it and not get all choked up. But I'm not afraid to show emotion. So I want to be human and be authentic. And so, yeah.
I love this one, and this is Cameron Hamilton. He's in 11th grade, part of our drum line here at Velma Jackson. And I
Okay.
don't know why he wants to get all psychological on these questions, but he's got a couple of really deep ones.
All
The
right.
first one is we heard a little bit about your mindset you had growing up. So when you were a kid, did you ever see yourself in this role of writing a book?
No, absolutely not. And I meant that. Like when so many people, when I've been at different book fairs or public events, and they're like, how long have you been wanting to be an author and you realized your dream of writing a book? And I'm like, I had no aspirations to be an author. I had no dreams of writing a book. Let's be clear. And I said, I was obedient. This is something, this is a mission that God sent me on. But this book is just a gateway. This was a way to organize the information because, first and foremost, I'm a speaker. And so the book is really here's this information so you can understand what it means for me to be a self love advocate. But I have much more to do beyond this. And so I had a lot of imposter syndrome throughout the process, though, that I had to overcome. I am really big into mental health and therapy and things of that sort. And I have a therapist. That is my girl. I've been in therapy for 6 years. And I remember her telling me to write a list of all the things I've done that I'd never done before and I succeeded in. I'm like, got it.
I
So
love
when
it.
I saw that, I'm like,
Um,
Let's add this to
And
the list.
something I say a lot, and look, you'll never hear an argument from me about obstacles that certain communities have had to overcome. But a lot of things are changing. But I always say, just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean you can't do it. You can be the first and you can be the best.
Yes.
But the second part of his question, I don't know where they're getting this from, but I like to. He asked, if you were reborn with all of the memories you had now, what is the main things you would do differently?
Ooh, that is a really hard question to answer because I really do have a mindset of not living in regrets.
I agree.
It just keeps you a prisoner of the past, and you don't even have to look at it as a negative thing. That's your journey. You did the best that you could in that moment with the information you had. Now you have more information and you can do better. I can't think of just dumb decisions that I made. I was very cautious. I was very intentional, even as a very young kid. My mom laughed at me because I was so serious. I took myself so seriously. I remember me telling her in third grade, Mom, I have a crush on this guy and I am in love. What we have is real. And she looked at me with a serious face, but then she's in the beauty salon laughing and telling everyone, I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is not a joke. I took myself way too seriously.
And,
I
and
don't
it's
know what
always
I
good to
would do
find the balance.
differently.
Well, we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for joining us. But a few
Yes.
things before we go. First of all, VenusMaryland.com,
Oh, and it's
VENU.
Marlyn. I'm sorry, I should
Marlin,
have corrected
I'm sorry.
Marlyn. It's
I
okay.
question my intelligence daily. VenusMarlin.com, VenusMaralyn.com is where you can buy the book. You can also get it on Amazon. Type in Venus Marlin, Love You, available in Kindle and hardback and paperback, whichever one you want to get. I got to get my copy after I get paid tomorrow. I would love to have it to be able to represent. Um,
Thank you for the
but
support.
I got two questions before we go. One
Okay.
silly and one serious. And I
Okay.
asked the same question to every single person in our class that has been on this platform. So you're about the
Okay.
17th or 18th person to answer. So I'm always loving the authenticity because as we know as high school students, at Madison Central, Madison County Schools, we were the champions of giving teachers a hard time, making fun of them, the butt of all the jokes. And I have apologized to so many of them over the years once I run into them. But these kids love making fun of me. I have kids from the other schools recognize me all the time because the other great teachers that are able to show this content. But as somebody that has now known me for over 30 years, have I changed one bit from the time I was 15 to where I am now at 45?
No. But you've always been awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Well,
are you're serious about the things you're serious about and you have fun with everything else and I wouldn't change a thing about you.
I
Seriously.
appreciate that.
Love you.
And it's like I tell Kendra, I tell Michelle, and all this. It's unbelievable to see people that you were sitting right next to. You were walking the same halls at Madison Central that I was, the same campus at Southern Miss, and you're able to do all this great stuff. So it doesn't matter where you start; it matters where
No,
you
it
finish.
doesn't.
Don't use as I'm from Mississippi. I can't do this stuff as an
Oh,
excuse. It
definitely
is
not.
and I'm back here. I'm doing my thing here. You can do it here, but don't limit yourself to think because I'm from here, I can't go somewhere. Which leads me to what I wanted to close with is at the end of the day, all these kids are going to start making decisions whether they want to be full-time entrepreneurs, part-time entrepreneurs, employees that think like entrepreneurs. All those are so valuable. But why should they never limit themselves based on who their parents are, where they're from, what the color of their skin, their gender? It doesn't matter any of that. Everybody has an opportunity, and I know your book is about this. Everybody can find that entrepreneurial spirit, that dream that you thought was impossible, and make it happen no matter what the
Right.
obstacles are. So as
Right.
they get ready to transition from high school to their next step, what can they do to mentally prepare themselves for that?
You need to define who you are. Don't let your environment and anyone else and their opinions define you. When someone even states something about me, any adjective or term that I don't own that. And I let them know I don't receive that. Sometimes I don't even take the time to tell them that, but you need to decide who you are. Once you have definitively decided who you are and who you're going to be, all the choices and habits that you make need to align with that. And that's how you get there, period. And there will be detours in life. I know for so long, I'm like, oh, I'll do this and everything will be great. Life never stops lifing. It's finding the joy in the middle of the lifing, but always know that you can rebuild yourself and probably will many, many times. Like, listen to the number of careers that we talked about, me going through and growing through and things of that sort. I have a lot of different skills. I have a lot of different gifts, and I plan on utilizing them all. We'll see what's next.
Yeah, and and anybody can go to your website, email you if they have any questions. I know some of our young ladies across Madison County schools would love to get some ideas from you. So again, we thank you so much. My class of 2000 Madison Central classmate, she'll always be Venus Bullet to me all the way from Atlanta. Thank
Yes.
you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Thanks,
See ya.
everyone. Bye bye.